I was born in 1991 when the American dream was still vastly considered a thing. America was having the time of its life and business was booming. Once I got to high school, people started claiming that the American dream was either dying or dead. Shit started getting really expensive. The housing crash devastated people's livelihoods, gas prices skyrocketed, interest rates were increasingly through the roof, and the average Joe started becoming more depressed through social media. People's motivation levels were dropping at an alarming rate. I started working when I was a junior in high school, and I remember so many people saying things like, "What's the use? You can't just start with nothing anymore. You either have to get really lucky or come from a rich family. The little man can't escape." When I left high school and moved to Florida to work and live on my own, I definitely understood what everyone was saying. Life is 100% going to spit in your face on either a daily or weekly basis. I don't care who you are. All of us have heard the phrase, "Money can't buy happiness." I've always replied with, "Let me be the judge of that one." When I left school, I told myself that I was going to prove that the American dream is still a thing. That's what brings us to Cincinnati. When I was a kid, my dad took me here to Riverfront Stadium in downtown Cincinnati to watch the Mets play the Reds. My little family is originally from the Bronx, but yet we're Mets fans. I know, it doesn't make sense, but that's not important here. I remember walking out of the stadium and looking up at the city skyline and seeing all of the bridges across the Ohio River and saying, "Dude, Cincinnati is fucking awesome. I'm totally moving here one day." Fast forward to February of 2016 and I did just that. At 2 or so in the morning, I boarded an Amtrak train in Charlotte, North Carolina with a bag full of clothes and about $800 in my pocket. No jobs lined up, no living situation lined up. I didn't know anyone there. All I had was the dream to just make it work. Hey, I did have a high school diploma, so that was cool, I guess. I figured, shit, I'll just start out as a homeless guy on the streets of Cincinnati and make something out of it. What's the worst that can happen? Hopped off the train at Union Terminal at about 3 o'clock in the morning that next day. Definitely not a 2-hour train ride. It was cold as shit, snow on the ground. Waited until the sun started peeking up to leave the station. From there, I went to a breakfast joint called the Taste of Belgium in OTR. Sat down, opened up my laptop to search for the cheapest apartment available and any open jobs in downtown. By that evening, I had 3 separate bartending offers and a scheduled viewing of an apartment for that next day. So I stayed the night in the Millennium Hotel, which was the cheapest room at the time. Woke up, viewed the apartment, signed the papers, left my shit there, went straight into the yard house for my first day of work. I remember walking to the restaurant for my first shift saying, "Well shit, that was fast." Put someone in a desperate situation to survive, and it's either sink or swim. That's step 1 of the American dream. A couple of days later, as I'm walking home from work, I got jumped by 4 people. Woke up in the hospital with cracked ribs, shattered nose, cracked jaw, and a face even bigger than that dude in the movie with Cher, The Mask. I was absolutely fucked. And the hospital essentially kicked me out as soon as I woke up. I was a John Doe to them. I had no ID, no wallet, no cell phone, nothing. They took everything from me, even the keys to my new shithole of an apartment. Little did my dumbass know, I got an apartment on literally the worst gang-related street in Cincinnati, East McMicken Avenue. Explains why it was so damn cheap. It's fucking hilarious looking back at it now that I'm out of there. My mom's phone number was the only number I knew from heart, so I called her and she's living in Charlotte at the time. I couldn't even talk with my mouth all fucked up. The lady at the hospital had to have filled her in over the phone because I was essentially just mumbling my words. I was fucked. I sat down in the lobby area and sat there for hours. Thoughts of, I don't know where I am or how to get home, and even if I could walk to the apartment, I don't have the keys to get in. I don't know my landlord's phone number to even get a replacement key. I have literally $0 to my name to buy any food and water, and even if I got food, I wouldn't be able to chew it. My entire body feels like I just got ran over by a car, and I am completely alone in a city that just gave me the double-barrel middle finger. If you can get out of a moment like that, you can get out of absolutely anything. Not knowing what my next move was, God literally sent me an angel. I remember looking down at the floor and suddenly I hear a guy say, "Clint?" I looked at him and he said, "It's your cousin Mark. Come stay at my place for a little while. Turns out this entire time, my grandpa on my dad's side was in an orphanage in Cincinnati called St. Aloysius before he joined the army for World War II. This entire time, I had a third cousin living in Walton, Kentucky. He saved my life. Him and his entire family are due so much respect. They are literally the definition of angels on earth. I spent about a week or two at their place while my face swelled down. I was drinking Skyline chili out of the straw. His daughter and fiance at the time took me to Best Buy and bought me a cell phone so I could start piecing my life back together. Mark dropped me off at my apartment, and that was that. I continued to work at the Yard House across the street from Great American Ballpark. The Red season was underway, and honestly, I was making a lot of money. After a few months of saving some, I moved to a better apartment across the river in Newport, Kentucky. I upgraded from walking to riding a bike, which led me to open up a business called Queen City Sports News. It was a free newspaper that talked about the Bengals, Reds, Bearcats, everything local. I created the articles, the advertisements, the website, found some local businesses to advertise it, and I delivered it to over 70 locations throughout the city. I placed them in waiting rooms like barbershops, auto repair centers, dentist offices, laundromats, anywhere where I knew that people were just going to be sitting around doing nothing. Delivering those papers on a bike every week was rough. I'm not going to lie, Cincinnati's got a lot of fucking hills. I did that alongside waiting tables and bartending too. Parlayed that into a radio gig, which didn't pan out, so that sucked. By that time, I figured it was appropriate for me to get into management, so I started managing restaurants. I was dating my now wife, who lived up in Dayton, so I had no choice but to buy a car. After a couple of years of absolutely hating my professional life in the food industry, Rachel and I get married, and shortly after that, I get a phone call from the Cincinnati Reds. The guy says, "Hey buddy, I have an opening for a mascot position and I hear you might be interested." Yeah, I know, curveball to the story. So long story short, when I was a freshman in high school, I went to the principal's office and I said, "Hey, this school has been around for too long without a mascot. You guys need to buy a mascot suit." Shortly after that, he calls me back into his office, gives me a brand new suit and says, "Here you go." Then I was a high school mascot. Weirdly enough, mascotting has been a thing of my past. I even grew up across the street from Sir Purr of the Carolina Panthers, so he helped to inspire me to get into the mascot world. Weird world. So, back to the phone call with the Reds. I was like, you mean leave the food industry and come work for the Reds? Fuck yeah. So, I went in for a tryout, and come December of 2021, I was the new Mr. Red of the Cincinnati Reds. Hands down the coolest thing in the world. My love and passion for this city came from me going to a Reds game as a little kid. I spent my entire life obsessed with Cincinnati, like obsessed. I kept bugging my friends and family growing up, like, Cincinnati, Cincinnati. I even got my best friend to skip school during our senior year to drive up to Cincy to watch the Bengals play the Jets in a playoff game. Out of nowhere, I find out that I have flesh and blood family not far from downtown, and lo and behold, I find myself repping the city as Mr. fucking Red. Everyone's got their own story, but shit, I always get goosebumps whenever I think back about everything. During my first season as Mr. Red, Rachel and I bought a house 20 minutes north of the ballpark. I opened up a window washing business called Patty's Squeegee, and I built the coolest little Irish pub in our basement. I named it the Drunken Mallard. Then, I made a drinking song called Cincinnati. As cool as I think the journey has been so far, I honestly only see it as just beginning. There's so much gas left in the tank, and I'm going to keep setting and tackling goals. Although, looking back at everything right now with the Reds making a push to become the World Series champs, we're going to do it, I think I might have done what I initially wanted to do in the first place. I may not have gone out and made $1 million with a yacht and a beachfront property on my hands, but god damn it, I feel like $1 million compared to how I was feeling with my face bashed in the hospital. If you ask me right now if I think the American dream still exists, I think my story speaks for itself. From here on out, my plan is to visit every Irish pub throughout America. Apparently there's like 4,500 of them, so it's gonna take a while. I love meeting new people and visiting new cities. To me, that's the best way to keep learning and the best way to live a happy life. So the plan is to tell my story to anyone who wants to listen, and hopefully change somebody's life, right? Maybe I can help motivate that blue-collar worker out there spending their last dollar on a Miller Lite before heading back into their car to go to sleep. I hope I meet thousands of amazing people with even better stories than mine. Nobody's going to tell your story for you, but maybe I can help get yours out there. If you ever feel like you're completely stuck and there's no way out, please hit me up. I can relate to you, and I would love to interact with you. Sometimes a 20-minute conversation with a stranger can change your life. If you want to follow along with my journey, you can find out where I've recently been at thedrunkenmallard.com. The recent articles that I've been writing haven't really been about any conversations that I've had throughout my pub visits, but perhaps from here on out that will change. Next time you're out at an Irish pub, look around. Maybe I'll be there. Anyway, yes, the American dream is still alive. You just got to get your head out of your ass.
Cincinnati skyline, Fountain Square, chilly. I'm packing up my jacket cause it's gonna be chilly. The genius of water, seeing Fountain Square. I'm packing up my bags cause I am there.